Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Yecca, where we cover culture, conspiracy, carnivore, and Christ consciousness. Today, I have my beautiful friend Mary here, also known as Keto Mary on Instagram, whom I've had the pleasure of knowing. Is it like 4 years now that we've known
I
each
think,
other?
yeah, I think 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it's been a little while. It's so crazy how long time can go by, with your social media friends.
I know.
Yeah, it's so crazy. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so excited to chat with you, mostly about food sobriety and food addiction, which is for some reason still not a mainstream topic that's talked about.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So could you please let people know like what kind of stuff you post about on your social media pages?
So I post mostly. I try to keep it to talking about food addiction and recovery and from eating disorders and food addiction. It's is not a official like eating disorder. So I talk about it, as its own thing, but also I'm in recovery from bulimia, compulsive eating, and binge eating. So I post a lot about that, but I like to use humor to get like a message across. So I've been doing that lately, like funny reels and trying to like make it fit into, my topic, like, my food addiction topics.
Yeah, I love that. You are always posting the best stuff. I steal your stuff all the time.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, funny stuff. I love that though. I think in today's world, like that's just the best way to get any message across, like any serious message is like through a meme and through
Yeah.
a joke.
Well, and sometimes it can like go like the a way we don't expect to. Like, I've had a couple things like go viral and I just get like absolute venom from people because my message is not popular to, my message of abstaining from drug foods and that there is bad foods out there. I will die on that hill. That doesn't, a lot of people don't like that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I love that kind of stuff. I know some people don't like the negative feedback and stuff. For me, I'm a weirdo and I love when I have hate on my page because that shows that I'm doing something right,
I've
usually.
definitely had to get thicker skin, like when, I mean, it's happened like off and on over the years, but every once in a while it just gets like really super ugly. And I have to
Mm,
just like, my natural reaction is I want to like, fight back, but I had to like learn how to just, and I would like delete people and block people. But then I realized, you know what? I'm just going to like let them, let it fly because they're helping the algorithm. They're making
hmm
my message be seen by more people by putting it on there. So I just like sit back now and let them, go off and I ignore them. I ignore the comments now, which sometimes is hard.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear you. But yeah, no, that's another thing too that I realized. I was like, well, it doesn't matter what comments, what words are in the comments. If there's more comments, it's going to be boosted in the algorithm. So, and
That's
then,
right.
and then what I like is like when other people will come in the comments defending you, and then it's
Yeah.
like it turns into like this whole thread, and then you can just sit there and just like read the whole thing and like,
Yeah, something like when people, I get like like sometimes people will put like personal attacks and then my followers will. I'm like, I don't have to say anything. My followers are going to take care of them.
I know, right? Yeah. It's kind of like almost like when you just like like I'm just gonna let God handle that, like it's gonna take care of itself. Yeah. No,
Right.
I love when that happens. Yeah, I've been trying to make some memes too. It's kind of hard, like if you're not like in a creative flow, it's kind of hard to like create things just like from scratch,
Yeah.
doing that. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun for sure.
I like the remix feature, like to make reels on Instagram. The remix feature is great because it just makes it easier. Because I am not by nature a creative person, but if I can get inspiration from something, I can think of how to put something together.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good idea. Like, because I just got access back to my Instagram, so I'm really want to get on top of like making more content and stuff too. And like that seems like an easy way just to make something. You just remix it and
Yeah,
put your take on it. Somebody else already did all the work, so
yeah.
yeah.
Like, yeah. But it's so funny. I've been making reels for a while now, and I just learned like 4 days ago that you could change the music on it. Like, I'm like,
I love that.
wow, that is so cool. So now I'm dangerous, right? I can change
Yes. Oh, yes. Now you are really going to blow up even more.
the
Yeah, no, I love that. That's so much fun. So when when did you start your health journey? It's been a while, right? A lot.
Yeah, in March of 2014. So I just had my 10-year, keto. I call it my keto versary, food sober anniversary. So yeah, it's been over 10 years, and I started it because I was 42 years old and I had type 2 diabetes, I had psoriasis, I had sleep apnea, I had, regular asthma and allergies like my entire life. I had high blood pressure, I was on meds, and of course, I was obese. I weighed 260 pounds and I was just, miserable. And I thought, oh my God, I'm 42 and I feel like I'm 72, right? I'm like, I have no energy. I still had my youngest was still like only 10 years old, 9 or 10 years old. And I was worried that like I was gonna like have a stroke and die and leave my youngest son behind, Um, so it was just I just finally I got to that point where like I need to do it's do or die. And I had tried, I was constantly my entire life, constantly trying to lose weight, constantly unhappy with my body. I mean, it started like before I was a teenager. And I really, really became, my eating disorders developed as a teenager. And before I graduated high school, my parents had me in a eating disorder treatment facility for like 8 weeks. So that was like my first uh, intro into eating disorder recovery, which never helped me. None of these things ever helped me. And so, anyway, flash forward, I was 42 years old, miserable, thought I was going to die, and really just wanted to, like, I was tired of feeling that way. And I was willing to try anything and everything over the years. And a friend of mine, um, told me about keto. I already knew, I dabbled in low carb, Atkins, that kind of stuff. And I would lose like, 30, 40 pounds. And then, I would like hit the wall. Like I couldn't go beyond that. And I would get frustrated and my eating disorder, would become so aggravated and I would just like fall off, gain the weight and then some. And so I dieted my way up to 260 pounds. Because if you go all the way back, I'm sure we all have this experience, right? If you go all the way back to the beginning, when I first went on a diet, I didn't need to go on a diet. I started dieting at a young age because I didn't think that I was good enough. And basically I wrote my own story and just like became obese over the years from trying to fix something that wasn't broken to begin with. So yeah. But so my friend told me about keto and I'm like, well, I'll try it, of course, because I was willing to try anything. And the one thing that was different for me that time was for the first time ever, I didn't feel like I was suffering from hunger. I didn't feel like I was on a diet. I was eating bacon and eggs and, like meat and steak. And I was eating things that like would be a bazillion Weight Watchers points and feeling satisfied. And so the weight just started coming off. My blood sugar went down like the first week. It was down to a normal range after being in the high 200s on the regular, and all these great things started to happen. But I was still that first year like fully, in diet mentality. But the way I was eating made me feel so good, and my brain just like literally like my brain changed, and it was like the fog was lifted. I could think clearly And so I finally had the mental wherewithal to be able to deal with my eating disorder, because I knew at that point, like, I didn't want to keep doing this. I didn't want to keep doing diets and gaining and losing and gaining and losing. I wanted to fix my relationship with food. And so while eating keto and a carnivore, meat based lifestyle saved my health, it's not the thing that fixed my eating disorders, but it was the vehicle that gave me the mental wherewithal to be able to do the work to deal with my messed up relationship with food.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean there. Like, I think carnivore, and nobody wants to eat only meat, for the rest of their life.
Right.
Nobody really wants to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand, that people that eat standard American diet, they're like, oh, why, they think that we want to eat. Like, no, I wish I could eat cookies and cakes and even like salads and pizzas and don't I wish I could eat all this stuff and like and even just certain vegetables I have to limit myself on, and like almonds, like can't eat nuts and things like that.
Yeah.
And I wish I could eat all these like natural whole foods that are made to be eaten, but everybody's body's different, and I think carnivore is a really good like first stepping stone to figure out, I like to tell people it's like the best elimination diet, because
Hmm.
you literally just start with one food, maybe it's from animal, meat and dairy maybe, and then you can just add in stuff from there and just figure out how your body is going to react, because meat has it does have everything you need,
Yeah.
especially if you're eating all the parts of the animal, and so, and the bone broth and all that stuff. And so I think carnivore is a really good like first stepping stone. And I think a lot of us have been kind of, that have been in the carnivore and keto community for, 5 to 10 years now. We've seen a lot of people that started off as carnivore, and because we don't want to be carnivore for the rest of our lives, we experiment with other foods, and
Hmm.
and sometimes, like for me, I know I'll still eat some foods. Like I know I mentioned to you that I had been struggling recently, and like I'll still eat the foods even though I know it's going to bring me pain, it's because of that food addiction, or I'm using it as an emotional crutch.
Hmm.
Or whatever reason, everybody's going to have a different reason of why they eat a certain food,
Hmm.
even when they know that they're not supposed to. Um,
Yeah. Well, like, that's the kind of the definition of addiction. We keep using something even though it's like causing us pain and problems. Um, but I agree. Like, carnivore is definitely like the ultimate elimination diet. I think it's a good place for people to start, especially for people that are really battling cravings. That's just one thing that people really struggle with, and a question that I see asked over and over again. How do you get rid of the cravings? And there's people, trying to get rid of sugar cravings and not really understanding how carbohydrates and sugar works, in the body. Like, I think people think of sugar as something that, it has to go in tasting sweet, but that's not true. Carbohydrates, even vegetables, they start that conversion to glucose. And if you are, trying to battle cravings but trying to diet at the same time, that's a huge mistake people make. They like, because the
mhm,
goal is like, lose weight. I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. So they, go into keto or carnivore, and they're trying to eat very little, or and in the case of keto, they're still trying to like they're still trying to like get entertainment or like soothing from food. So they'll still eat things that are sweeter. They'll buy like the keto treats or make keto baked goods and stuff like that. And it's holding them back and keeping the cravings coming. And if people want to get rid of those cravings, the best way to do it is just eat meat. And yes, it's boring. But you know what it also is very like, what I've done, I'm not like strictly carnivore, but the times where like I well, if I string like 3 or 4 carnivore days together and not do any plants, that's when I feel like the calmest and the least hungry. But I prefer being keto because I don't, like you said, I don't want to eat just meat all the time.
yeah. Yeah, like I want a few pickles sometimes, or some
Yeah.
salsa. Or
Well, and I think too, you touched on something important. Like it's important. It's not that we, plants are inherently bad. I think that there's other issues. Like some people, they have issues with plants because their gut health isn't good, or some people, there's particular things that like turn on the cravings, light up our brain. So I think we have to find, part of my recovery has been finding out what are my drug foods, what are my boundaries, and knowing myself. So there's definitely, I don't do processed food. That's definitely a drug food for me. Like it's all hyper palatable. It will just derail me completely. So I only eat real food. But then even in that real, in the under the umbrella of real food, there's things that I won't eat that are perfectly fine for people to eat. I'm not saying they're bad. It's just that they're bad for me, either because they um, do something, they make me feel physically ill or cause me physical pain, or they disturb my peace because they light up my brain and make me want more. And it's got me like on the hunt to have more. So, I've had to learn over the years like what things are a complete no that I'm never going to eat again, and what things are okay and that I have boundaries on.
hmm Yeah, have you ever experimented with like oxalate foods, or do you know if your body's like sensitive to higher oxalate foods?
I don't know. That's not an experiment that I've done, but I'm familiar with, Sally Norton, and I've read a lot about oxalates. I don't think that I've personally experienced anything negative. But I mean, I really don't know, because the other thing is part of my recovery is I try, like, I'm a fan of experiments. I do like experimenting, and I think it's perfectly okay to have body goals, and health goals and stuff like that, but I try not to get too far in the weeds, because I could easily, become orthorexic and be afraid of everything. So
hmm
that's one of the things I have not necessarily like dived into. I just like try to keep things simple.
Gotcha.
But I'm not
Yeah.
a big vegetable eater anyway, so, and I
hmm
don't think the ones that are highest in oxalates are things that I particularly eat.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. For me, I've noticed like, I've noticed like I can, if I'm able to just eat a couple bites, that depends on the day. It's like spinach, almonds, brown rice, and chocolate are like the highest things in
Okay.
oxalates. And so those for me, and that is something that for me personally, I've noticed that I am sensitive to it. And I've experimented with it over the years, and so I try to stay away from those. But I don't know if it's correlated to like autoimmune issues, which I'm sure it is too. That
Mhm.
also might have an effect on what kind of foods you might be sensitive to if people have autoimmune issues too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have autoimmune issues they haven't been diagnosed with, and they don't realize that what they're eating is hurting them in some way. But that's definitely something for people to check out. And if you know for sure like that a food is bad for you personally, then the best choice is to avoid it. Um, I we there's certain things that we try, we desperately want to make it fit, but it just doesn't. And that's where we have to like have that acceptance of like, okay, well, this is clearly my history with this food has not, it's not served me well. The results are never in my favor, so maybe it's just time to let this one go. There's plenty of other things to eat.
Yeah, and you saying it in the way that you say it makes me laugh because it sounds like a breakup, and I've felt that way too, pretty much like since I started carnivore. I started in 2017. Like cutting out these foods, it feels like a breakup, and I
Yeah.
think that's another sign that you were addicted to the food. And
Hmm.
because it really like it's heartbreaking, and it's like, oh, I'm so sad. I'm never gonna have chocolate again.
Yeah.
Or like so devastating. Like I can never live without my love chocolate.
Yeah.
And
We absolutely go through the grieving process.
mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think I just thought that was so interesting when I realized that because, in we're not taught that we might grieve food in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Like that's a
Yeah.
really weird, when you say it out loud, it sounds very weird. It's like
Yeah.
not something that anybody's ever taught, but we've all learned it on our own, just being in this space and experimenting and cutting out the foods, and so I just want to let people know that it's okay to have that feeling if you are cutting out that food.
Yeah.
It's normal to feel like your heart is being broken, because it kind of is. You're
Yeah.
you're having to remove something that was a part of your life, probably your entire life since
Yeah.
you're a child, and it's okay to feel that sadness. But once you get through that, obviously it gets a lot easier, once you get
Right.
past that.
Well, and grief is a normal part of life, but it seems weird, like with food, because as a society, we've really normalized disordered behavior with food, which is something that I say that regularly, like, gets, I get hate for it um, because society has normalized disordered eating. So, like, I did this post, it went like viral in like the millions, and it was a post about how eating an entire bag of chips and dip in one sitting is not normal. And like 98% of the people were like shooting daggers at me. It's
Oh my
totally
god.
normal. They were pissed because they're like, that's perfectly normal behavior. You're the weird one for not doing that. Like, and so like this is what we're up against. So then when we
Hmm.
are sad about giving up food, other people are like, I don't understand, just eat it, have one serving, just everything in moderation, just have just one. Well,
Just
if
a
I
little
could
bit of
have just one, I
poison.
would have done that. It's not
Right,
that
yeah.
simple.
Yeah, exactly. Not everybody's able to moderate, and I know you talk about this a lot, because you do get those people. It's like, oh, well, just eat two cookies. Like, oh,
Why didn't
why
I think
didn't
of
I
that?
think of that? Yeah, like, oh, what a great idea. Like, yeah,
That's
and
genius.
and I think that's something that people, it's something that needs to have the light shed on, because it's
Yeah.
not talked about enough. And and that's why I wanted you to come on here so we can talk about it, and let people know that it's okay to have these, the grieving feeling of food, letting foods go, and it's okay to also be scared, because you're trying something new, and you're getting rid of stuff that you've used as a crutch.
Hmm.
And I'm just talking like from my personal experience.
Yeah.
I used food as a crutch my entire life. Like, and my mom, bless her heart, she would give me treats for everything. If I was sad, oh, you want some ice cream? Oh, you got good grades, you want some ice cream? Oh,
Yeah.
you're mad, you want some ice cream? It's
Yeah,
like,
we learn to use food for soothing, and so
hmm,
it becomes, we develop this relationship with food that isn't like how it's meant to be, right? But as a society, food is, injected in everything. Like, it's for every celebration, every social get together. Like, life kind of revolves around food, and there are a lot of people that are disordered with it, but don't realize that they are, and don't know that they are. Yeah, it's definitely, we're facing like an uphill battle with it, though, because it isn't talked about a lot. I also want to, you were talking about the things that are okay. It's also okay to cut out foods and never eat them again.
yeah.
Like, this idea that it's disordered to eliminate foods is just bizarre to me. Like, people have peanut allergies. No one's telling them, oh gosh, that's really weird that you can never have peanuts. That's, oh, but no, they don't
Just
touch
why don't
it
you just
because
try one? Just
they're
try
allergic,
one
right? Yeah,
peanut.
I'll have one
Like,
peanut, probably won't be that bad a reaction.
in
Um,
moderation.
yeah, so that's, that message is out there, like, and people that don't, there's two, there's people that they deny that food addiction is even real or exists. They think people are being
Hmm.
lazy, they're just not disciplined. But there's two people, there's the group of people who they themselves are addicted and nowhere near willing to give up certain things, so they stick with that narrative of everything in moderation, and they keep battling that, and they keep writing off their disordered behavior as normal. And then there's the side that is not addicted to food, has normal relationship with food, and they don't understand people who don't, so they can't relate at all, but they still talk about it like as if they know something about it. And so that gets pretty frustrating, and my message of abstinence is very unpopular, but I mean, it's just, addiction is addiction. Nobody's telling alcoholics and drug addicts in rehab, hey, we're going to teach you how to have one drink on Friday night. And if you
Right.
can't do
Yeah.
that, you're just being lazy. You're just not disciplined, right? No one's telling them that. But, with food, we're told, oh, you're disordered if, you're cutting out foods. And I think it's disordered if you continue to eat something that physically and mentally harms you, but you eat it anyway. That's what's not normal.
And like when you not only know how bad it makes you feel or, that it has bad side effects, but you also know how it's made. It's made in a lab or it's made with chemical colors and chemical flavors and
Yeah.
things like that. And it's like, and it's so sad that, it's a majority of people that they're just like, well, my dad ate that his whole life and he turned out okay. And it's like, yeah, but dad's got diabetes and he's also on heart pills and he's also, on a
But they
walker
think that's
at
normal.
55. And they think that he did, he came out fine. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. And
because
so,
they think that's normal. We're trained as a society that the reason people are fat and sick and on medications is just because we're aging, which is complete BS. Like,
I know.
you don't have to age and fall apart. When you start falling apart, it's not because you're getting older, it's because of the way you're living. And boy, people hate to hear that.
Yeah, yeah, people they can't handle the truth sometimes, and so that's unfortunate because that's what all I talk about on here. So,
Yeah, yeah,
so yeah, no, it is sad because it's just because it's been normal in your life doesn't mean that it has to be normal all the
right,
time. And you know, people have lived longer than they're living nowadays, and you don't have to be sick and tired all the time. There is a
right.
way out, and no, it's not going to be easy. And one thing in regards to that, like I noticed, I don't know if you saw the post I made the other day just talking about how when I lost my Eat Meat Queen account, I lost access to all my community. And I didn't
Yeah,
realize, and I knew community plays a big part in just in mental health, spiritual health, and even, physical health in like my regard for this situation. And so losing access to just having people that I interact with and that I see your post and I see other people posting,
hmm,
like that, like kind of like keeps the inspiration going, kind of keeps me inspired. You're definitely like one of the top 5 people that
oh,
I always like seeing in my feed. And and I try to clear my feed out a lot too. Like I mute a lot of people because I can only see so many keto recipes in my
right.
feed a day. Like
Yeah, yeah. I think it's
without being
important.
triggered.
Yeah, and I saw your post about that too. And it is a testament, like how important. I talk a lot about when we're in recovery, we can't do it in isolation, and that connection is protection, is what I say. With that connection with other people who are, in a similar battle, like they're in the same boat. That connection protects us and it protects our recovery, because when we break away and we isolate and we're trying to do things on our own, we start to, like, our voice of sabotage takes over, and then we end up like back in old habits. So having a community to be in touch with on a regular basis is definitely a part of how we're gonna like live that food sober life.
Hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. I didn't realize how big of an effect it was going to have on me because like I went over to my backup account, but I don't have all the same stuff that's on my Eat Meat Clean account. And so I like just fell off. It definitely wasn't that bad. Like I've fallen off worse before.
Yeah,
And it's definitely, a lifelong struggle. I feel like, it's always, you're always going to have some difficult moments.
yeah,
But
we
yeah,
don't
and
ever arrive.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's about the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, I was it was just like a huge like sigh of relief. Just like I got my Instagram back and then I got on there and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I have this back. Like I didn't realize like that I needed this part. And so I'm really happy to have my community back and be able to, follow everybody and see everybody's amazing inspiring stories. And I know you also do coaching as well too. You help others out.
I do have private coaching, which I don't have any openings for that right now, but I have a community that I started late last year, the Food Freedom Tribe, and that's I created that so people could have a place to connect. They're all working on the same thing. They're all going through my program. And so I have that. And then I have a self-paced program for people called Food Freedom. Then it's to take them through the process of changing that relationship with food. So, what people think is they need the right diet. They need their macros done. They need, they're looking for like all these rules they need to follow, when what they really need is to fix that relationship with food so that they can even stick to a way of eating, and sustain it.
Hmm. So, what are some tips that you typically recommend for people, like when they are in a vulnerable situation? Maybe they're out in public or something, or maybe even they're just like at the grocery store, about to go to the grocery store, and they're like, I'm just gonna buy a box of keto cookies and some organic milk and
Yeah.
have that for dinner, or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
just people are put in vulnerable situations, like at a party or out out in public and stuff like that. And I know sometimes it can be hard when you don't, you're the only person there that is trying to stick to a certain way of eating. What do you recommend for people to do when they're in a situation like that?
Yeah, so I call those situations danger zones. So my clients, that's like the lingo we use. So when a client pops up on it, makes a message on the tribe, they're like, I'm in a danger zone, like, and they'll tell us what it is. And a lot of it is, it's like those family get-togethers where there's a potluck, there's going to be all kinds of desserts, or going to like for me in the beginning, going to the grocery store was most definitely a danger zone, because my favorite thing was like to go and get the fresh hot French bread, and HEB had these like cheesecake slices that were like frequently on sale, two for $5. Like, so if I was gonna walk by there, that's like stuff I would put in my cart. So yeah, we all have these danger zones that we encounter, and and so when we're in these danger zones, we are guaranteed to hear from our voice of sabotage, and it's that voice that says, "Oh, you know what? You've been good all week. You deserve a little treat." Or it's the voice that says, don't be the weird one. Everybody here is eating all the stuff. You eat it too, or people are going to notice that you're not eating it. Or Aunt Jane made your favorite pie. It would be rude not to eat it. All
Hmm.
of those things. Like, that's the voice of sabotage is coming at us, like trying to convince us that it's perfectly okay to eat this food that we know we have a problem with. And so we have to recognize, okay, I'm in a danger zone, and know that when we're in the danger zone, we're going to hear from that voice, and then we have to be prepared to hear what it's saying so that we can fight back. So when I teach my clients like to talk back to that voice. So when it's the ed voice, the eating disorder voice, the voice of sabotage, that's that voice that sends us back to food for everything. So when it says something like, but it's your birthday, you should have cake. My response is, well, actually, because it's my birthday, I'm going to really treat myself by treating myself right. I'm not going to poison myself with cake, which could make all kinds of things go bad for me. I just like talk back to that voice using the truth, because that voice, when it talks to us, is telling us a lie of some sort. So our job is to fight back. Like when the voice says, oh, well, just have one piece. Well, my response to that is, okay, when in my life have I ever had just one? I know that's a lie. I'm incapable of having just one. So therefore, I'm going to have none. Thank you very much. Like we, I'm perfectly okay with getting snarky and sarcastic with that voice, because it's just lying and trying to like suck me in. And it's my job to fight back and not go for it. And you fight back with the truth. Whenever we hear, like our normal reaction when we hear another person, a person or something on the news or TV, whatever, when we hear a lie, what is our reaction? What? Our reaction is like to say, that is not true, right? So we have to do the same thing when we hear that voice start lying at us, telling us we could do things that we know we can't do. We have to fight back, and with the truth.
Yeah, I know. I love that. That is so true for sure. And that's something that I've been working on personally, not just with food, but in various aspects of my life, and that's even, what God wants us to do is He wants us to take those lies. in a stranglehold and, and basically like throw them out of here. Like that's
Yeah.
not true. And so I've been trying to be better at that, and recognize those lies, and I think that's a really big step too for people because we've lived listening to these lies, for so many years that we've gotten accustomed to thinking that it's okay, maybe even, and it's like, oh, even it doesn't hurt me if I just eat one, but we know, like you said, like when have I ever eaten just one? It's
Yeah.
like the voice is going to tell me just eat one, but then as soon as I'm done, it's going to come back and say the exact same thing again.
Yeah, well, and the reality is one is too many and 10 is never enough. Like I'm not satisfied with one. Trying to eat one of something just makes me angry and it lights up my brain and then I want to eat all of them. Like I never had like one Girl Scout cookie. I ate the whole sleeve, if not the whole box, right? Like that's we all have we have to be honest with ourselves about our track record and our history with food. If every time we eat cookies or cake that we don't just have one piece, that's our reality. Our truth is I'm incapable of having one piece. And sure, maybe some people can dig down real deep and be disciplined and just white knuckle their I mean I definitely have white knuckled my way through things before, but it only lasts for so long until you're face down in the carb ditch. Like, I mean, that's why every diet I ever did ended in an epic binge because I was white knuckling my way through, counting calories, being disciplined, sticking to it until I couldn't take it anymore because I wasn't like trying to fix my eating disorder. I was trying to diet and lose weight. And that willpower only goes so far. And then the next thing I know, I'm in the McDonald's parking lot with a 50-piece McNugget and two supersized fries. Like that's how it always ended. So it's just, there's no such thing as moderation for me with certain foods. So it's just best, it's easier to have none. It seems like it would be hard to never have something again, but in reality, it's hard to try to moderate something that you really like.
Right. It's like that saying, it's like choose your hard. Life's always
Yeah.
going to be hard. Is you want to live the difficult life of struggling, trying to moderate for the rest of your life, and then going in a downward spiral that you have to dig yourself out of this hole over and over again? Or do you want to just cut that food out for the rest of your life and just go through the breakup and be heartbroken a little bit, and but you'll eventually actually be able to mend your heart, and
Yeah.
and you can replace it with healthier foods. And I know one big aspect of getting over food addiction is turning to food for fuel versus for fun.
Right. Yeah. We do have to change our perspective about like what food is for. Um, and I, it's hard to just like say it's fuel because it's true, but we should all like and we should enjoy our food still, right? Like I think a lot of people think like well, if I cut out all these things, eating's going to be boring. Well, not necessarily. Like, we should still enjoy our food, but also we shouldn't derive such like excitement from it. And I think, part of the food addiction thing is we get really excited about food. Like I can remember driving down the road and seeing, a DQ billboard with a new flavor of I don't even remember what they're called now, but
The
the ice cream,
blizzards.
the blizzards, yeah. There'd be like a new flavor of a blizzard, and it'd be like exit 220, and I'm taking that exit because I'm going to go try that, right? Like, so we're used to like just having whatever, and then we think life's not going to be fun, and so I like to tell people, I hope your food is boring and your life is exciting because when we give too much power to food and we think we can't, how many times you and I we've both heard people say it and we've said it about things in our history probably, oh, I couldn't live without fill in the blank. Like I have people tell me all the time, oh, I couldn't live without bread. Really? What if bread disappeared tomorrow? You're telling me you wouldn't want to go on with life? Like we don't realize like the things that we say, and there are plenty of things like that we can live without. A lot of people with and I compared like the alcohol and drugs, people will say, um yeah, but you don't need alcohol and drugs to live, you have to eat to live. That's very true, we have to continue to eat, but we don't need to eat everything. We don't need donuts, we need meat. Like
Yeah,
there we
you
don't
don't
have to,
need to
not
eat
everything has to
garbage.
be on the menu.
Yeah. Yeah, and that makes me think of another point too. It's like a lot of people have gotten accustomed to just surviving. Yeah, just to surviving and not thriving.
Yeah.
And and that's another a really big benefit that I'm sure you also have noticed when you change the foods that you eat, you don't just barely make it through the day. Like you make it through the day, you most likely won't have a slump in the middle of the day. You're going to
Yep.
have no brain fog. You're going to be able, to remember things and do things and be energized throughout the day and then and I feel like some people might not even notice it sometimes because it's like, oh, they feel normal, and it's like, but you never felt normal before. You were in
Right.
pain before. You were in inflammation
Yeah.
before,
A
you
lot of
know.
people adapt easily. I knew I didn't feel well, at 260 pounds and having all those health issues. I knew I didn't feel well, but I still got up and made it through the day, right? Like you said, I didn't always, I didn't feel good. I just kind of adapted to that. And I didn't know how bad I felt until I felt better. And so I don't ever want to go back to that. Like that's one of the things that motivates me too, is I don't want to go back to feeling that way.
Yeah, that's funny that you say that because that's kind of what happened to me too. Before I tried carnivore, I apparently was depressed, and I didn't know I was depressed until I got out of the depression, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I did hate my life and was okay. Like if it was didn't happen anymore, I was like I didn't even realize that I was in that darkness, in that depression, and until
Yeah.
I started eating carnivore, and then it was just like one day it was literally like a switch just flipped with carnivore,
Yeah.
and I was just like, what? Like I have control over my life. I can do things that I want. Like what?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel calm. And before food sobriety, before finding keto and carnivore, my life felt like I was constantly anxious, like it was chaos, and just constantly in fight or flight. And also, and I was an angry person. Like anything would set me off. I was one of those I slammed cabinets and doors, and my whole body was inflamed. And so I noticed about 6 months in, I was like, huh, I haven't raged on anybody lately. I feel so good. I could laugh about it now, but it was a miserable way to live, and I was not fun to be around. Um, and but just it's just life is so different now. Everything's so different. Like I'm calm. I'm generally happy. I mean, there are things that tick me off, but I'm generally happy. I have lots of energy. I work out on a regular, I've been working out consistently for over 9 years, which was never something that I could do previously. Like I would go through these phases. I would be 100% crazy above my ability working out and burn myself out for 2 weeks and then not return for 6 months or longer before I exercised again, because that life was just ridiculous. And so now it's just calm and orderly, and I don't get too, you know, for the most part, I don't get really worked up about stuff. I can, but I recover quick. If I do, I recover quicker. It's just great to not have my brain be so inflamed and just feeling so I don't know, chaotic is the only word I can think of.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought that up because I feel like that's a lot of people. Like I know I was like that too. I used to, and I'm sure people when they meet us, they would think like, what? Like you seem so calm and happy and relaxed, but yeah, I used to have like road rage, and I would like get angry and throw my cell phone across the room, and and like I did have anger issues,
Mhm.
and but eating better literally just made it all go away. And and then like how you're saying, it's like you don't really notice it at first. You just start to feel normal, and then you're like, wait, I haven't flipped out in a while. Like, well, you know
Yeah.
what? That's cool. Like, and so I think that's so neat when that happens. And I love just hearing stuff like that too, because yeah, like I have a similar story. Just had anger issues, and I think also that might be common for women too,
Mhm.
just in general. Being moody and getting
We have a
angry for
lot on
little
our plates.
things. yeah, we have a lot of our on our plate, and we're very emotional, and so that's another reason why I think it's so important to, be feeding our bodies with the proper nutrition and proper fuel, because everything else out there is garbage. Like, and it's literally made to make you sick.
Yep.
And that way you can buy their medicine, and and that way we can keep them funded, and all that good stuff.
Don't even get me started. I
Yeah.
know it's like I don't hear let me put my tinfoil hat on.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. It's the stuff that I see put out there by experts. I just like roll my eyes. I'm like, please, like I, for years tried to follow, because I was diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic. I tried to follow the the advice from the diabetic nutritionist. It never improved my blood sugar, but mainly because I had an eating disorder. I was being allowed to eat and encouraged to eat things that just kept my appetite going. Like I still felt constantly hungry. So I could never follow the expert guidelines and get results. And it wasn't until I started doing everything opposite of what I was told to do that I got well. And so there was definitely a period of time where I was mad. I was like, after the I'd go on the American Diabetes Association social media and just like, liars. So I'm past that now. Although I think it's total garbage, like what they do. I think they need to be like disbanded. But yeah, like it's crazy the stuff that's out there that I just did everything opposite. My thing is like if the government says do it, don't do it. If they say don't do it, do it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say earlier. Like, whenever they give you recommendations, literally just do the opposite of whatever
That's
they
right.
say, and you will be so good.
That's right.
Yeah, love that. So let's see here. I have a question. What is the number one tip you would give someone who wants to make a change, just in their eating habits and just to be healthier, but they don't know where to start?
I think the very first place to start is just focus on eating only real food. If it comes from the animal or the earth, eat it. If it comes in a box or a package, if it's in the inner part of the grocery store, don't eat it. I think that's the easiest place for people to start. And from there, people can start to figure out like what other things they may or may not need to eliminate. But I would think everyone should avoid processed food, fake food.
Yeah, yeah, especially those artificial colors, they're so bad, and it's been known for years, like the side effects about
Yeah.
them. And I try, to share stuff with my family. If you guys are watching, I'm talking about you.
Well, I mean, it's all of it, right? Like all that stuff in the inner aisle, it's all like it's plant based. It's full of like
Yep.
sugar, flour, grains, seed oils. Like there's no nutritional value to like any of those things. So like stop drinking sodas and drink just water, tea, and coffee. Stop eating cereal, have bacon and eggs instead, and maybe a little avocado too. Don't eat candy, eat fruit. Like not that I'm not advocating for
Right,
like
I know,
specific
I know.
behavior,
We
you know
don't
what
need
I
to
mean?
go
But
down
like
that
if
fruit road.
someone's starting like from a standard American diet, like I'd rather them eat some fruit than eat a candy bar, right? Like if you want something sweet, eat fruit. You can like work your way down when you're trying to figure out what problems you need to solve in your own personal health situation, right? But stuff like that, like it's just the best place is just focus on eating real food.
Yeah, yeah, no. I'm glad you brought that up, because I do want to also ask what your thought is on, um for people that do eat a standard American diet and want to eat better. Um would you think it's okay for them to lean on the keto stuff, while they're getting started? Because obviously it's not ideal, especially like the stuff with the sucralose, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of keto stuff with gluten in it and stuff like that. But what are your thoughts on them like switching into that stuff versus the traditional American candies and cereals and things like that?
Yeah, so if they're coming off straight up, all they eat is like processed food, like every day is like cereal, Pop Tarts, lean cuisine meals, and McDonald's, like then I definitely believe it. I call them like transition foods or bridge foods. Um, definitely eat
Hmm.
a Atkins bar over a granola bar. I could argue there's not a big difference, but
Right.
it
It's like a
starts
baby
with the
step
mentality.
kind
Like
of.
it helps, doing that is like going to start working on your mentality, right? Like, so I think there are certain
Mhm.
things, eat Rebel ice cream instead of, Bluebell.
Mhm.
There's definitely a place for those things until you get to that place, where you're you're working on your relationship with food and you realize, you know what? I don't need any ice cream. Like, we get to that place where where we realize we're eating it for entertainment or for
Mhm.
comfort or reward, and it's, nobody's eating ice cream because they're hungry. Okay,
Yeah.
it's not something we choose when we're hungry. Like, our brain likes to tell us we're eating it because we're hungry, but that's not the reality, right? Like, so I definitely am okay with like bridge and transition foods, but I think ultimately, to really have a healthy relationship with food, we got to look at all of those things, and maybe it takes a few
Mhm.
years to get there. Like,
Mhm.
it's hard for people to cold turkey go from, an all processed food diet to just eating meat.
Yeah.
There's people that have done it, but that's not a lot of people can do that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think that's something that the everyday person can just
Yeah.
do cold turkey, especially because, we've lived that way our whole lives. Like I was formula fed, and I ate microwave dishes and, we microwaved bacon and, and we microwaved whole chickens. I ate a bunch of microwave food and frozen food and processed foods and
Yeah.
candies and snack packs and, Swiss rolls and all those,
Yeah.
all those cakes and stuff. And we eat it for various reasons, not just for hunger. So if we're trying to live a healthier life, it's important to look at why are we eating these specific foods, and if it's not a healthy relationship with that food, how can we make that relationship better?
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, awesome. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about just a little bit about fashion because I know you like to dress up a little bit and you do like your outfit of the day, and I like fashion a little bit too. Like I like to dress up and stuff too, and I love how you share your outfit of the day. And that's something I wish I can do. I don't know. I just feel weird sometimes. I just
I
have to like
haven't
not
been
think
doing
about
as
it.
much of that lately, actually.
Oh, really?
I kind of got away from it, but I do still, maybe a couple times a week. I should do it more. Mostly because, like, I do like dressing up, but I've become a little bit more casual. I had a tummy tuck
Hmm.
in fall of 22, and so it's changed the way I've dressed. So, like, now I'll wear things that I wouldn't wear before. So I'm not dressing as fancy. Like, I would dress a little fancier to, you got to figure out a way to dress to like disguise your
Oh, I
lower
see. Okay.
apron and all that
I
stuff.
see.
I have
Yeah.
that removed, and so now I dress a little different, and I don't post my outfits as often. But yeah, I love clothes. Like, that was a huge motivator for me. Like, in the beginning, one of the way, like, I'm a big fan of visualization, and so, over 10 years ago when I started this, one of the things that I did for visualization was I had a Pinterest board.
Hmm.
And I called it, like, the name of the board was like clothes and shoes I love and what I would wear if I had the body. And so every day I would like be on Pinterest, like saving outfits and looking at outfits and picturing myself wearing certain shoes and outfits and stuff like that. So it was kind of one of the things that motivated me. And like, as I lost weight, I would, uh, venture out a little bit and try to wear something new, and it was like always so scary. But now, yeah, I love clothes and shoes. I have a problem. I don't have enough room in my house for my clothes and shoes, and my husband, every time a package comes, my husband's like, really, what is it
Nice.
now? Don't you have something already that's in this package? You probably have three of them. So I like to shop.
Well, maybe you can do fashion shows for him so it can be fun for him too. We have somebody that left a tip, so thank you so much, Lydia Q girl. It looks like she's asking. She wants us to do an outfit check. I don't know if my camera can go. I have earbuds. I just have my gym clothes on and like a little
Yeah.
thing.
I'm wearing shorts. I don't know, you can't see it. I'm just wearing shorts and a crop.
Yeah, cute. Yeah, no, I love all your shoes. I wish I could wear heels. I've tried. I don't know. I guess I haven't tried enough. But usually I just stick to like 2 inch heels.
Heels are tricky because there's only certain, like the most comfortable ones that I have, the as far as like high heels that are comfortable. Steve Madden and Jessica Simpson have been the ones I've had the most luck with comfort. If it's some other um if some other brand or like like a I don't, I'm not that Jessica Simpson and Steve, they're not expensive shoes. They're not cheap. They're not expensive, but something like, that's cheaper than those, they usually hurt my feet.
Mm. Yeah, it's so hard to find comfortable shoes, and I've also been trying to get more like wide toe box shoes too. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's literally changed the shape of my foot when switching to those kinds of shoes.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I used to wear heels every day. And so I got actually at KetoCon, not last year, but the year before, I got a pair of the zero shoes, like that. So,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
they're wide. And so your feet, like, so I wear those to work out in and to go walking in. And I love them. Um, and, and then I try to only wear heels, like if I'm, going out somewhere because I know they're really bad for my feet, but I love the way they look.
I know, I love the way they look too. Fun. Okay, well, I might check out those brands, see if I can find something there. Okay, so it's coming up to the hour, so I want to thank you so much for coming on. This was so much fun. Like I said, I'm glad to be back on Instagram with my Eat Meat Queen account and be able
Yeah,
to
I'm
be
glad
back
you're
in the
back.
community. Yes, and thank you. So yeah, thanks again for coming on. If I also want to give a quick thank you to my sponsor at Wise Wolf Gold and Silver. You can check out my link down below, Yecca.gold. If you guys are interested in purchasing gold and silver, you can reach out to us there and check out my link, Yecca.gold. So if you can let the people know, Mary, where they can find you.
I am on Instagram and Facebook as Keto Mary 71. I have a website, foodfreedomwithmary.com, and then I also have a Food Freedom podcast on Apple, Spotify, all those.
Awesome, sweet. Well, thank you so much. We'll have to do this again. And you
Yeah.
actually don't live too far away from me, so we need to
No, I
actually hang
don't.
out in real life. So
Thanks so much for having me.
awesome. Thank you. And I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.